Have you been trying to capture your mountain bike rides on your GoPro? And you've been wondering how those top mountain bike YouTubers have been capturing that beautiful, buttery POV GoPro footage? Well, I did too, and a lot of those top mountain bike YouTubers have actually gone through and shared their GoPro settings in their videos. And so what I did is I went through many of those videos and I kind of detailed what all the similarities are with their GoPro settings and also what the differences are. So I'm gonna share those in a consolidated way on this video. By the way, I just passed 500 subscribers on this channel, so I'm still super excited about how this channel is growing and everybody clicking like on the videos, leaving comments so that I can chat with you, and clicking on subscribe. Now, I went down this journey of researching all these different YouTube settings because I found that my video wasn't coming out as good as theirs, and I wanted to see what they were doing differently than me. And so I learned a lot from going through this exercise, and I think you'll find that as you progress through my videos, you're gonna see improvements with each and every video as I learn how to tweak my own GoPro settings. Now, I realize that a lot of people don't want to go through and fiddle with all these manual settings in order to get good footage, and I realize that's probably why you're watching a video like this, is just to get the quick and dirty on how to set up your GoPro settings. Now, some of the settings that these YouTubers will talk about will be exposure, and so that consists of ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, and they'll be talking about ISO. Now, you'll find that ISO minimum is always going to be 100 for everybody, and then the ISO maximum is usually around 1600 to 3200. Now, another setting that's in the GoPro is going to be colors, and the color could be set to GoPro or it could be set to flat. When you have GoPro color, that means the GoPro is going to apply the color that it thinks that image should look like. And then when you have it set to flat, it actually reduces all the colors that you see, but you have the ability to tune your color after that. So if you want to actually have the color exactly the way you want it set to a flat color profile. They'll also talk about white balance. Now, white balance is a setting that adjusts for the color temperature that you're experiencing that day. And that color temperature is going to be affected if you're in the shade, if it's a cloudy day, or if it's a bright day. Most of them are gonna have settings around 5000 to 5500 Kelvin, or more or less, depending on what it's like that day for light. And you might find that you're getting a really green or a really blue looking picture depending on what the white balance looks like, and what you want to have is something that is kind of true to life color. Now, another thing they're going to talk about is frame rate. For the most part, everybody is 30 or 24 frames per second. Personally, I prefer a 24 frames per second type of look. Now, you don't want to be filming in a higher frame rate for slow motion footage, because you'll probably find that with point of view, you're not going to be capturing anything that you're slowing down anyways. You want to have that natural speed to it. But again, that's personal preference. Also, they're going to talk about field of view. That's also a personal preference thing. GoPros are really well known for having really wide angle lenses. However, for point of view footage, some of the folks actually prefer having a little bit more of a narrower focus in their point of view shot. Now, another thing they're going to talk about is stabilization. With the GoPro Hero 7 Black and newer GoPros, there's actually amazing stabilization built in with the Hyper Smooth and the Hyper Smooth Boost. And what you'll find is anybody with these modern GoPros probably aren't using a gimbal anymore, or if they are using a gimbal, they're probably using a single axis gimbal to just keep a steady horizon on the video. They'll also talk about audio and managing wind. And that becomes really important when you're on a mountain bike, because obviously you're traveling quickly, so you're generating wind just from that. And also the environments that you're in probably have a little bit of wind from time to time as well. So some of the things that they talk about there is having these wind slayers. You can get these for really cheap off of Amazon, and many of them use these little fuzzy stickies that you can stick onto the mics on the camera as well. Now, also along the lines of stabilization, they will talk about the mounting that they do for the cameras as well. Now, we use the GoPro chesty, which a bunch of them will be using. The key here is to getting this strapped really tight to your body. You'll notice in my earlier videos, I wasn't actually using one of these. I was using another type of chest mount, and I didn't have it strapped very well to my body, so it caused a lot of shakiness. This one, I find I'm able to just really strap it in really well. And get it really tight to my body. Also, the trick with mounting your GoPro is mounting it upside down so that you can get it to flip up a bit, because when you're riding on your mountain bike, you're not sitting vertically on there. So you need to actually compensate for your body leaning forward, and you do that by moving the GoPro around this way so that it's going to actually still capture forward. Now you'll also find that some people want to wear their cameras on their helmets, and on a full face helmet a lot of people are doing a chin mount, which is a great view. However, keep in mind that you're going to have to keep your full face helmet on at all times when you want to capture footage, and you might be trying to capture footage while you're climbing, so then you have to have your full face helmet down. Now the first YouTuber I'm going to talk about is Mark Matthews. This guy is awesome to follow. He makes amazing videos, especially right now. He's got this series called Isolation, so he's doing some trail building, and this guy is an amazing rider. It's so fun to watch him. Now, he actually has two cameras that he outlined how he uses. He has a GoPro 7 Hero Black, and he has a GoPro Max as well, which is a 360 cam, which is really cool to be able to use as well. Now with his Hero 7 Black, he's actually using it on a Karma grip gimbal, chest mounted. So he's got that extra stabilization to it, and he might need it if you look at some of the stuff that he's doing out there. He films in 4K at 30 frames per second. He uses Super View, and he has Hypersmooth enabled as well. Now, what's interesting about Mark is that he doesn't use any Pro Tune. And Pro Tune is those manual settings to dial in your ISO and your color temperature and whatnot, and he actually doesn't use any of that. His footage still looks great, so you know, that comes down to personal preference sometimes as well. Now the next YouTuber I'm going to talk about is Skills with Phil. Skills with Phil has really awesome videos. I love some of the stories that he's telling on there. It's been really cool to follow him as well. Now for him, he's got a GoPro 7 Black, at least in the video that I watched of him. He does do the chin mount on a full face helmet as well. Now for the audio on his video, he actually uses the little fuzzy things around the mics on the GoPro, and he also sticks a wind slayer on the GoPro as well. So he's kind of got double wind noise reduction happening on there. He films in 4K, 30 frames per second. He uses Super View. Now for his Pro Tune settings, he's using automatic shutter speed. He uses the EV-Comp, so he has exposure compensation of -0.5. Now this is something that can be adjusted depending on the amount of light that's coming in that day. His white balance is actually set to automatic, and his ISO is a minimum of 100, maximum of 1600 that he sets. Sharpness he leaves as low, and for the color profile he actually has it set to GoPro. Now Skills with Phil also detailed what he does in post-production, and he said he actually adds in a little bit of saturation, adds in a little bit of a vignette, and he adds a little bit of vibrancy into his images as well. And the next YouTuber that I want to talk about is Kyle and April. They have an amazing channel. I've learned so much from them, and they're just a wealth of knowledge, and I love how they take the approach from just somebody who's just starting out with mountain biking and progressing them, which is me. I've only been mountain biking for a couple months, so there's so much that I need to learn, and I'm getting a lot out of their channel. Now for Kyle, he uses a GoPro Hero 7 Black. He does use one of these chest mounts, and he also uses one of these wind slayers as well. He films in 4K, 24 frames per second. He uses the Super View field of view, and he enables the Hypersmooth. Now his settings are pretty similar. ISO is set to 100 minimum, 1600 maximum. He does use auto white balance. Sharpness he has set to high, and he actually uses GoPro color as well. Now, what I also noticed that Kyle does is he uses the raw audio setting in the GoPro. And what that means is when you have that enabled, the GoPro will actually have a processed audio file that it produces along with the video. And you can use that separately from the audio track that is actually captured with the video itself. Now, the next YouTuber that I want to talk about is Jordan Boostmaster. He's a local rider here in British Columbia, and he is just amazing. You've probably already seen his videos. He's got a ton of subscribers, and he's just an amazing rider. Now, Jordan actually recently did a video on his GoPro settings with the new GoPro Hero 9, and he does a chest mount, and he actually, for audio management, he actually uses the stick-on fuzzies on his camera. He films in 4K, 30 frames per second. He uses Super View, and he uses Hypersmooth as well. Now, he doesn't turn on boost because he finds that that crops in the video too much. Now his video is actually a great one to watch in itself because he actually goes through setting up the camera, but then he actually goes through dealing with changes in the lighting situation. So on the fly, he's actually showing you how he's adjusting his settings as he goes through a ride if there was a change in environment. And then otherwise notable things is that he does the flat color profile, so he adds in his color in post-production. And the last YouTuber that I'll go over is the Loam Ranger, and it's been really cool to watch his channel because he actually incorporates his family into it. His kids ride and his wife rides as well, which is really cool for me to watch because I ride with my boys. Now he films with a GoPro Hero 9 Black. He does do a chest mount, but he still uses a gimbal with it. He has a single axis gimbal to kind of keep that horizon line going. He films in 4K, 24 frames per second. He uses Super View and then Hyper Smooth Boost. And then as you would imagine, he has his color temperature dialed in to about 5500 Kelvin. He has a minimum ISO of 100, maximum set to 3200. Now I'm sure he's actually dialing these in depending on the day anyways. His sharpness is set to low and he uses the flat color profile as well so that he can dial in his colors afterwards when he's editing. And for the wind setting on his camera, just like everybody else, he has that turned off. So in general, there's really three things that you need to think about when you're doing your GoPro settings. Number one is, do you want to use the auto settings? A couple of these YouTubers do use auto settings and they get away fine with great video. The next thing is mounting your GoPro, whether you want to use it on your chest or you want to attach it to your full face helmet, and then just making sure you have your stabilization dialed in wherever you have it set up. And the third thing is going to be wind management, whether you're using the little fuzzies on your camera or you're using one of these wind slayers on the camera, or both, like Skills with Phil. So thanks for checking out this video. Please go check out those other YouTubers' videos as well. You'll be able to see how well they have their GoPro footage dialed in. I know for me, I'm gonna make improvements with all my GoPro footage as well. Otherwise, hit like on this video, leave a comment if you have something to say, and hit subscribe so you can see more of these videos. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.